Keir Starmer increasingly has the aura of a man who is half robot and was grown in a test tube at the back of some World Economic Forum complex by Klaus Schwab. The man is just so clearly ideologically possessed by leftist liberalism. He's in Germany recently speaking about how the far right is a real threat. Yet what Starmer and his fellow European globalists fail to see is that the so-called far right isn't just some phantom disease that crops up in the great unwashed masses. In fact, many of the people that our elite term far right aren't far right at all. They're not ideological fascists. They've just simply got fed up of endless mass immigration, the erasure of their culture and communities, terror and sex attacks, and a political class that's swamped in leftist ideology who seem to despise their own people and have no love for the European homeland. Now, I'm sure there's a minority of people in Europe who are just full of hate and anger and identify with the far right, but the whole thing is just blown way out of proportion. For instance, look at this clip from London. Look at these armed cops going up and down a tube train. Do we really believe that they're searching for the so-called far right, or are they searching for some other people? And as much as Starmer talks about the far right, have they actually killed anyone? I mean, we've had loads of stabbings recently. Notting Hill, the Southport stabbings, the London attack. Were any of those far right? Keir Starmer, as I'm sure you've noticed, never talks about any of this. He just doesn't seem bothered by it. Just like he hasn't mentioned how a 15-year-old girl was murdered in Northumberland recently after her parents had warned about a stalker she had who was 17. Similarly, we had a 17-year-old murder a 20-year-old in Sussex recently. Murders such as these are tragedies, and we don't know why they're happening, who is doing them. There is no info coming out at all. The answer from the mainstream is just look away and blame the far right. If you speculate anything on social media, we'll chuck you in jail for years in prisons that have been taken over by violent Muslim gangs to teach you a lesson. We're getting to the point now where we have a murder a day in the UK, and we don't even know why half the time. Keir Starmer doesn't have any sympathy with the people who are worried about what's going on. In fact, the only thing he said is he wants to make sure the Muslim community feels safe. And then he has the nerve to come out and say that the way to deal with populism and nationalism is to provide progressive and democratic answers to the challenges Britain faces. I mean, what does that even mean? Arrest more people if they dissent on social media, enforce more mass migration, and call everybody evil and racist and unwanted when they notice the inevitable negative consequences of it? Or maybe he means just brainwash more young people into woke leftist ideology for our cultural institutions and the education system. Of course, remember, to liberal leftists like Starmer, democracy simply means what BBC and Guardian readers want to happen. Oh, remember, when it all gets too much and you've worked a long hard week and you want to have a pint and a cigarette, you can't do that now either because Starmer's going to ban smoking outside of pubs. But I think we all know what's going on here really. Keir Starmer is engaging in a cynical political policy. He uses the term far right to conjure up ideas of mad angry people who simply hate others for their skin colour. This allows him to completely ignore the complicated issues that this country is actually facing while positioning himself as some heroic leftist fighting the evil forces that wish to disturb modern Britain in its multicultural utopia. But of course he has a very real problem that he can't keep arresting and smearing his way out of. Mass immigration is a problem. There are major problems in modern Britain, and they're only going to get worse the more he ignores them. You know, I personally think we have a massive opportunity here. We people who he'd smear as evil and far right and unwelcome in modern Britain should strive all the more to be rational, reasonable, calm, truthful, kind, well-wishing, in principle, Christian even. Why should we do this? Because it completely sends a glitch in the liberal matrix of who they think we are. Why this is so effective is it will show the mainstream, who Keir Starmer is lying to, that those people who are supposedly so evil are actually probably half of the country. They're normal people who have very valid concerns. And if we continue to make these, it won't just destroy Keir Starmer's credibility. It has the power to destroy the credibility of the whole liberal project itself. These are just some of my thoughts. Thank you for watching as ever. Do let me know what you think down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel.